Hi, everyone. My name is Alan Wong, and I'm with the Contra Costa County Employment and Human Services Department. And today I'll be your moderator for a forum of 5 candidates running for 3 at-large seats for the San Pablo City Council. Today's forum is sponsored by the Contra Costa County Elections Division, CCTV, the League of Women Voters of Diablo Valley, and West Contra Costa. And we're holding this roundtable via Zoom and taping it at the CCTV studios. I also want to mention to many of our candidates' names as they appear on your screen. You will also have a chance to have their campaign email address seen so that you can contact them anytime you want. Let me introduce the candidates for you. The candidates for this office are Abel Pineda. There he is. Rich Kinney. Charlene Harlan. Arturo Cruz, and Patricia Ponce. All right, now we're going to begin the forum by asking questions for each person to answer. And while the time's not going to be monitored, I'd like to ask all of our candidates to be mindful of their fellow candidates to give everybody a chance to tell the voters their thoughts and their platform. So let's begin the questions. Mr. Pineda, Abel Pineda, if you're elected, what would your top priority be?
Thank you so much for the question, Alan. While there are a number of issues that are important to me and to members of our community, I feel like an issue that's been very significant and pressing to our community is the issue regarding public health. I will tell you that right now, the public and members of our communities are facing an unprecedented challenge with the rise of COVID-19 and the pandemic. And the crisis has further exacerbated our current healthcare challenges. And I believe we need to act with urgency. And I'm committed to supporting and leading on initiatives that increase access to the healthcare services that our residents need and efforts to help our community to remain safe and healthy during this crisis. Something that many people in the community may have already seen and heard is that, I come from a household where people have been infected with COVID, and I was the only person to not get it. And so I was a primary caretaker, and I got to see the effects that can have on working families and their health. And so I'm committed to doing everything I can to be able to increase awareness about this very dangerous virus. I want to be able to increase access to testing. I want to make sure that people are informed and are educated about how they can protect themselves and their families. And also, more importantly, be able to provide our community with the resources and the tools they need to be able to overcome this challenge. And that means being creative, because I know that there's a lot of ideas of what's causing rises in cases. But here for the city of San Pablo, I think there are quite a bit of issues here. But one of them that we have to understand is the issue with housing. A lot of families are being grouped up into one household. I know Dr. Carson, Supervisor John Joya had talked about this in some articles. I've mentioned that in my household, I live in a 3-bedroom house. We share one restroom. At one point, we had 3 families living in my house. And this is a reality for many families in the city of San Pablo. It's hard to find affordable housing. It's hard to be able to access the medical services that they need. With Doctors Medical Center closing, people have to go further and further away to receive the services they need. And it's not fair. We need to be able to increase access. We need to increase the support and increase the services that we provide to our residents. So I'm committed to prioritizing public health at a time where we see that we're the have the 4th largest concentration of active cases. And we also have the first, we're the first in terms of the highest concentration of cases in Contra Costa County. This is really a crisis, and we have to really treat it as that and understand the issues that are affecting our residents in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pineda. Rich Kinney, what would your priority be if elected?
Thank you, Alan. It's great to be with everyone today. And that's a great question. It's an important question. And hopefully we'll see everybody live up to, all of us who gets elected, everyone will live up to what we're telling the voters now before they vote for us. Top priorities on my agenda for San Pablo is to continue what we've been doing, which is public safety, community policing, community schools. We also want to now work a little bit harder on making sure that our neighborhood streets and sidewalks are clean. We're seeing a lot of public dumping going on. And so we're starting to hit that hard. But it's important that we keep our our public safety strong, and that's all assuming that we're going to see an end to this pandemic and shelter in place where things can get back to normal. We also want to make sure that we're focusing on pro-business. We do have a casino that gives a little bit more than 50% of our revenues. It's easy then for our city leaders to get a little complacent and kind of rest on their laurels because they've got that coming in constantly. But it forces us to really pay attention to our other businesses, making sure that we're helping them, giving them every chance to succeed as well. And the other thing is we want to make sure that we're taking care of the poor and the underserved in our city. So these are the priorities that I want to focus on. And I'll say in closing on that question is that we've got to make sure that you elect officials that are going to look out for and care about all the people in our city, not just certain groups.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Charlene Harlan, what would your top priority be if elected?
Well, some of it's redundant with my two other colleagues have conveyed, but my top priorities would be healthcare. And I have been on the San Pablo Community Foundation for about 12 years, and we rallied very, very, very much around Doctors Hospital not leaving San Pablo. San Pablo needs a hospital back in our city. We need that. And if ever we needed it, as Abel said, in his household, his family was affected. If ever we needed a hospital back in San Pablo, we need it now. So I would be, if I am elected, I would be working very diligently trying to have that to happen. And the other thing is too, we are increasingly growing in our homeless population. That group of people, it seems as though they have migrated here from other places. And because of a lot of situations that have transpired in our state, especially around the fires, people have been displaced and they are homeless. We could all be living under the freeway at any time, one paycheck away from being homeless. It is the sign of the times, and it's just what we're living in. And I think that we have turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to our homeless. The homeless population is increasing in San Pablo. Healthcare and homelessness is two of my priorities, in as much as I do have others. But those are two of my priorities because of this pandemic. We need to care for especially the citizens of San Pablo, to make sure that they have what they need. People have lost their jobs, they don't have access to health care. So it's a serious situation, and we could all easily be homeless at any time, any members of our families. So I think it affects the city greatly, and it's something that I'm very, very concerned about. And I hope that would be two of the top priorities of my platform.
Thank you, Ms. Harlan. Arturo Cruz, what would your top priority be if you are elected to the City Council?
Thank you, Alan. Public safety is my top priority, to continue embracing technology through cameras, shot spotters, license plate readers in our drone program, and also job training to create union jobs with livable wages, benefits, and pensions. Those are my two top priorities, would be public safety and economic development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cruz. And Ms. Ponce, Patricia Ponce, what would your top priority be if you're elected?
Well, thank you for having me here today. There's a lot of priorities right now, especially in our current situation. I want to echo what Abel said and Dr. Harlan. Healthcare is a major priority for us right now. COVID has devastated our community. I know that I've lost some family members due to COVID, and that's just devastating. Our healthcare should definitely be our priority. We have urgent need for that. When we lost our hospital, it left us facing challenges where we would either go to Kaiser or Martinez County. Kaiser is private and Martinez is far away from us. In an emergency, we need a local hospital. I know and I understand that we have the health clinic available to us, but it is not a hospital. Working together with county, state, um, everyone possibility to work to bring a hospital back into our community. With the healthcare challenges comes also the challenge where people are losing their jobs and thus losing their healthcare, and they're faced with determining whether to go get tested for COVID or not. Losing healthcare is definitely uh, difficult in this time. So helping people get back to work is of dire importance because there's so many people that are currently unemployed in our community. We also have an issue where we need to protect our renters, our homeowners, people that have lost jobs that cannot meet their rents. I know that there's a freeze for rents right now in our city, but what does that look like long term? How can we protect our renters? How can we protect our homeowners? So that is definitely a priority for me, so that we can help our community members in the long haul, not just temporarily. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ponce. Mr. Pineda, what are your thoughts about the current budget and financial status of the city of San Pablo?
Thank you for the question. I just wanted to start by pointing out how thankful I am for the foresight of our council members who are serving today and previously. And the reason I say that is because we actually have a quadrennial budget here in the city of San Pablo. And so while cities are trying to balance their budget every single year, the city of San Pablo has set up enough foresight to plan out 4 years in advance. And every single year, we have the ability to work on our priority work plan, where we discuss issues that are important to us as elected officials, important to our community residents, and things that we want to support through actual council action moving forward. As it relates to our fiscal standing, I know Councilmember Kinney has brought this up about our business mix. Right now we are heavily dependent on the casino and the finances that it brings to our community. But we need to be able to do more to be able to support our businesses, our small mom and pop shops that are out there that have been struggling or that have certain limitations that need to be addressed. As it relates to the budget, we did have a $10 million budget shortfall as we're trying to close the budget for this last fiscal year. And I just wanted to say that I just want to recognize, the resiliency of all of our community members, our staff, our union members, everyone who has really been, a part of some very tough conversations. When you're talking about such a significant loss of revenue, it deals with the very tough conversations about where the money's going to come from to be able to close the gap. And so I'm just thankful that, we have a catastrophic reserve funds through the city of San Pablo. This is what I mean by foresight. We've been, the city of San Pablo, because of our dependency on the money that's coming in from the casino, we have to be able to plan out in the what if scenario. So the what if scenario situation happened with this pandemic. And so I'm just thankful that we were able to tap into those catastrophic reserve funds. We were actually able to use a good portion of it to reduce the impact that has on city services staff wages. Although there were, some situations that required, non-essential travel. We're not doing that anymore. In terms of, we pretty much as a whole community, we had to have the whole conversation about how we're going to be able to balance it. And I know that if it wasn't for our unions, if it wasn't for our department staff, and if it wasn't for our city manager and even members on the council, we could have found ourselves in a very different conversation. Many other communities across the state, they don't have catastrophic reserve funds. So, and when the situation hit where they're going to have to close their budget and they don't have the money that they need, had to deal with some very tough conversations. Where do we cut? Where what's going to be not invested in as much. I'm just thankful to say that, in the city of San Pablo, we've had Measure Q in the past that's been passed by the voters. Now it's going to be Measure S in the 2020 ballot. I'm happy to have support for it to be going for the voters to be voted on. And this should be able to sustain the funding that we have been able to use on the priority issues for our residents. So if you value workforce readiness, if you work for attracting or retaining businesses, if you value, excuse me, public safety efforts, our programs, there's definitely many opportunities and avenues for us to be able to sustain what we're currently doing. What we're seeing from community service is that surveys is that residents are quite satisfied with what we're offering here in the city of San Pablo, but that does not mean we don't have room for growth or the ability to be able to challenge ourselves and to think more critically about what we're doing and what we're providing and how that can be improved in the benefit of our residents. So I'm just thankful that right now, with everything that's going on as the conversation goes with the budget, right now, we have our catastrophic reserve funds. We're leaning on the federal government, on the state government to also be able to provide some aid. Right now, we're not interested in cutting our safety net programs, our social worker programs. Why? Because they're absolutely valuable. We believe in full service community schools. We believe in providing some of the best public safety programs in our community. We believe in providing some of the best healthcare programs here. So right now, with everything that's going on, we're going to do everything we can to reel in these resources, reel in these opportunities, and make sure that they're readily available to our residents. So right now, we have a good budget. We've stabilized our budget. But again, we hope that, as this pandemic continues, we're going to continue to, look at the situation, continue to assess it, and we'll make decisions as responsible as possible, considering the circumstances we're faced with.
Thank you, Mr. Pineda. Rich Kenny, what are your thoughts on the current status of San Pablo's budget and financial status?
It's a very good question. It's very important, and Councilmember Pineda spoke very clearly on it, and it's everything that he said is true. We fortunately had the foresight to be able to put money aside. Fortunately, we had the opportunity to have the funding to do that with. We continually look at ways to reduce our costs and to increase our output. At the same time, we were fortunate when this pandemic hit. We were fortunate to be able to get an agreement with all of the labor unions in our city to work with us and partner, and they sacrificed, we sacrificed, our workers sacrificed. We were able to come to a win-win situation, I believe, for everyone. And so we didn't have to have any layoffs. But that was because we worked together well with all the players involved. So our economic status is strong. It could always be better. We only have a catastrophic reserve for so long, and we've already had now to cut into that. And if we don't get fully back to open businesses really soon, we're going to have to look at how we may have to cut it even more. So hopefully we'll see. Now hopefully we're past the essential services situation and are now getting to where all the businesses can open up again, as long as people are using the good judgment of masks and social distancing and all these things that are necessary so that we can get the economic base flowing again. We know that we can't depend upon, I keep preaching to our council and our city attorney and city manager this all the time, we cannot continue to expect to count on casino revenues forever. It's just unheard of. I mean, it may happen, they may be there as long as life continues, but we have to plan for the worst case scenario, which, just like any catastrophe, if we, God forbid, were to lose our casino or another came in and brought competition that changed our contract with our casino, things would change financially in a heartbeat. Overnight, it would be horrible. And so we need to make sure that we truly are beefing up all the rest of our business revenues in our city. And one of the things I'll be working on is taking a serious look at calls that we get from commercial landlords that say that I've had several business prospects come to me that the city turned down, and I still have buildings empty, and I can't get enough. I can't get them filled. The city keeps making it difficult for me to bring new business in. So those are the kind of things we've got to take a serious look at, and that's just one aspect of ways that we can continue to improve as we work together.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Charlene Harlan, your thoughts on the status of San Pablo's budget and financial situation?
Well, I must say that I am not privileged to know all of the intricacies of the budget for San Pablo, um, as opposed to three of the colleagues that are presently on the city council. But what I do see is that, as just a resident of San Pablo, is that we're very fortunate to have a casino here in San Pablo. And I often wonder, if we did not have a casino in San Pablo, where would we be? Because a lot of the businesses, since we have had this pandemic, is that a lot of the small businesses have folded and they have left. And I'm not sure if they will be able to afford to come back. And so we're always entertaining the point of being able to enticing people to come into San Pablo with new businesses. I spoke once at the city council, and I said, I asked a question: why are we not building before the pandemic came in? Why are we not building and encouraging businesses to come in? So I was told once that we don't have the land. We don't have the land to build. Well, with what we're presently engaged in, I don't necessarily see if we will be doing a lot of building, although housing is always an issue that we must be engaged with in San Pablo. Many people have been displaced. Many people are in shelters in other communities within the surrounding San Pablo area. They have left San Pablo because we don't have enough to facilitate the needs for the people. So with that being said, that's one of the avenues, one of the situations that we can look into and be engaged in. And if I'm elected, that's one of the things that's very dear to my heart, that we must provide housing, affordable housing in San Pablo for those people who want to live in our city, to be able to live here and live here affordably. And I was also told that, we don't have the land. And as I drive around San Pablo, we have land, and I've taken pictures. I'm like, okay, this is a vacant lot. This is a vacant lot. This is a vacant lot. So it's not rocket science, as I've said to the city council before. If you cannot build out, spread out, then go up. It's not rocket science. You have to use what you have, and we have to use the available resources that we have. We have to make it happen. You cannot just say, I wish, I wish, I wish, and we can't, we can't, we can't. Yes, we can. Yes, we can make happen whatever we want to happen here in San Pablo. We are living in different times. That's a given. That's a given all over the world. We have to make it happen here for San Pablo residents. We have to make sure that they have what they need. And there are many, many, many needs here in San Pablo. San Pablo used to be a very little quiet city, but with this pandemic, we're not quiet and dormant anymore. We have many needs. We have many needs, and there are many that needs to still be addressed. And homelessness, economic equity is another situation that's very clear and close to my heart. Economic equity, we need to address that. The healthcare, as I've said before, affordable housing, and the homeless situation. We have many needs here in San Pablo that needs to be addressed. Even though our slogan is the city of new directions, there are many new directions that we need to be engaged in.
Thank you, Ms. Harlan. Arturo Cruz, your thoughts on the city's budget and their current financial status?
Yes. As your current mayor, I'm grateful to say that during this pandemic, we didn't have to lay off any employees. And we have an award-winning finance department to help us balance our budget and continue providing services and programs to our residents. And we used our rainy day funds to help get us through this pandemic. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Patricia Ponce, care to share your thoughts on San Pablo's budget and their current financial status?
Sure. So the budget on June 15, 2020 was adopted at $40.6 million. But I echo what Abel said. We have been losing revenue because of COVID, and us continuing to face these challenges while being fiscally responsible is really important. I would also go into saying that I advocate for the extension of revenue stream of Measure Q that will be in Measure S that will be in the ballot this November, so that we don't lose that revenue. Also, I am an advocate for Prop 15 that will help our schools in our city. I think it's really time to pass Prop 15. So those are two different types of revenue. One that hopefully we won't lose because it has helped us with our current services that we provide our residents. And then, of course, Prop 15 would really help us. So just being fiscally responsible, and I'm really happy to see that the city and the elected officials were able to work out with the unions so that employees were not laid off. That really says a lot about the city of San Pablo. Um, and and so yeah, that's basically all in regards to the current budget.
Thank you, Ms. Patricia Ponce. Abel Pineda, there's so much going on right now, but what do you see as the primary work of the City Council?
What do I see as a primary work as a city council?
Of the City Council.
I think right now, with everything that's going on, is to help navigate our community to the resources and support they need to be successful, to remain healthy, to stay housed. And so I think every single one of us, whether as on the city council, it's our duty to be listening to our community, to be attentive to their needs, and to be mindful of what the struggles that they're facing at home, and to be able to come up with solutions to try to meet those needs. And sometimes it goes just beyond us. And this is what I'm bringing in. So people that may not know me or may be familiarized with me, but I previously worked for the California State Legislature for 5 years, working for State Assembly Member Tony Thurmond then, and State Assembly Member Rob Bonta. Now I work for the State Department of Education as the Northern California Regional Liaison for Tony Thurmond. And so I just wanted to say that I've been thankful and I feel like privileged in that opportunity, but I feel like I get the opportunity to be exposed to a lot more examples, a lot more situations, problems, and ways that people have attempted to address these problems. And so we've seen that on many occasions. Some of these conversations that I've been bringing up, talking about creating a rent increase or an eviction moratorium in the city of San Pablo. This conversation was happening in other cities when I brought it to San Pablo. What we're talking about, I helped create the COVID-19 housing grant assistance for $500,000 to help residents pay for their rent, mortgage, and utilities. This is me realizing and hearing from my neighbors that they're struggling to pay their bills. They can't do it. And it's a very real challenge that we have to consider, be mindful, and be proactive on. And another thing that I would say is that in terms of the role of the council, we're accountable to the public. We're accountable to everyone that's listening to this conversation, and we want to make sure that whatever we're doing it responsibly. We're doing it with you in mind. When I was in college, I have the privilege of being the youngest council member in the history of our community. And, I have the honor of being able to say that I was born and raised here in San Pablo. Not many people can say that. You can pull the council, you can pull everyone previously, and not many people can say that. I know there's not records to confirm that there's been other folks that have been actually born and served in the city of San Pablo and elected office as a council member. And so for me, it's like, I was born here, I was raised here. I've seen us go through some very good times. I've seen us go through some very challenging times. But the one thing that I say and that I appreciate is that, since I grew up here, I went to schools here, I shopped with, in our businesses here, I got the opportunity to see and hear from our friends, our neighbors about the challenges that they're facing. And I get to be responsible for that because I'm very much a part of this community. I want to serve this community. And I'm just wanting to do everything I can to make sure that we have the resources and opportunities to overcome this crisis. I'm here for you. I want to support you all. And I know that it's not just one person. It takes working with a body of elected officials. In this case, it's the city council, and sometimes it counts as us bringing in other players, such as our county counterparts, our state assembly members, our state senators, our Congress members. We have options and avenues for us to be able to tap into, and we need to do just that. And that's what I'm bringing. I'm bringing in a fresh perspective as the youngest council member. I'm bringing experience at state level. I've gotten to interact with every single level of government. And I'm excited about the opportunity to continue to serve the community and the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pineda. I liked how you summed that up and used your work experience to explain how you would apply it to the primary work of the city council. So I'd like to kind of add that to the questioning here from further on. Mr. Kenny, how would you apply your work experience to how you would fulfill the primary work of the city council?
That's a good question, and I appreciate it. So basically, first of all, let me just answer the priority of the city council is to oversee that all of our hirees and are working properly. And first of all, let me just say that the council is only responsible for hiring the city manager and the city attorney. And then we leave it up to the city manager to do the rest of the hiring. But it is still our job then to oversee all the affairs of the city, to make sure things are honest, that there's integrity in everything that we're doing, that we're being honest, that we're ethical, that there's no corruption at any level in our city government. That's very important. And that we're, as a city, responding well to the things that are going on locally in our county, in our sister cities. And we also have to remember that one of our top priorities is that we are representatives of the voters and all the other residents as well. And so we have to give our voters the opportunity, our residents the opportunity to have someone to come to if they're having a problem, and if they, after going to the normal, places they go for their issues, if they're not getting it resolved or they have a problem even there, it's important that they know that they can let us know and that we will get involved in helping them. I lived 20 years and got married and started my family in San Leandro. And then for the last 21 years now, I've been here in San Pablo, serving originally as pastor, as police chaplain, and got involved in coaching basketball at the junior college. And that year we won our championship. Next year we went over to Richmond High. We won the North Coast section that year. It was a very wonderful time, very difficult, but it was the movie would outdo Coach Carter. I can guarantee you. It'll happen someday. And then I wound up being able to teach public school in our school district. My kids all have grown up in San Leandro and San Pablo. My whole family of 5 have attended CC College at one time or another. We're invested in the community. And so then, getting elected to city council in 2012 was a major move for me to be able to get a better overview of the city. And that's when I began to see how some of our service agencies, service clubs, especially like Rotary, our San Pablo Rotary is major in the way that it works in our city and come alongside the city and help with meeting needs of our people in our schools as well as our community. And so that partnership is important. I started a nonprofit 2 years ago. I'm in year 3, and I've learned from my experiences pastoring, working with churches, working with the schools, the college, working with the youth, working with the city, and now working with San Pablo Rotary as their president this year. I've learned how to put together a nonprofit. I'm hoping that will be most helpful to our city and our residents, and be hopefully have a vital part in helping our city be prosperous and all of our people taken care of well. My slogan is wherever there's a need, go help it, and that's basically what I do, and I direct everybody in my realm to do as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kinney. Charlene Harlan, if I could reformulate that question, how would you apply your work experience and your background to your job as a council member if elected?
My background is education, and I have lived in San Pablo for the past 17 years. I've lived in West County for the past 31 years. I've been raised in San Francisco, educated in San Francisco, up until I received my doctorate, and my doctorate was taken out of state at Nova Southeastern University. So with that being said, being an educator, I'm a natural nurturer, and I've always ever wanted to do was just to be in education ever since I was 4.5 years old. So my family, my parents have always told me I'm a natural nurturer. So I use my my experience and my background to help and to support. And I got involved in San Pablo years ago because of Leonard McNeil. And I said to him, I met him at a meeting once, and I said to him, I said, I want to become involved in the city and where I live in San Pablo. And I said, I'm very involved in San Francisco, but I don't want to just pay taxes and just change clothes where I live and not be engaged and involved in where I live. So because of former Mayor Leonard McNeil, I became involved in San Pablo, and I've never regretted it. One of the things that I'd like to say is that I think it's almost 3 years, been a planning commissioner. And 2 years ago, when I attended the conference, the statewide planning commission conference, we were talking about some of the concerns that San Pablo is just now beginning to be engaged in. And I brought that information back to one of our meetings at the planning commission, and that was affordable housing. Affordable housing. Every community just about in the state of California 2 years ago was talking about affordable housing. And it was before we became engaged in the pandemic. So with that aspect, I think we are a little behind because this pandemic has said we have got to step our game up. So using my expertise and my leadership in terms of being engaged in trying to make a difference in people's lives for 40 some years, I take leadership very serious. And if I'm given the opportunity to serve on the city council, I think listening to the people, we are the people. We do not set ourselves above the people. We are the people. And there are many, many, many concerns that the residents of San Pablo have now. No jobs, no housing, no health care, no money, food. And I'm very thankful and grateful that the Unified School District, Contra Costa Unified School District, has stepped up to the plate to continue to feed our children and our families, having a food program that families can go to and get food for the week. And on Thursdays, they're giving enough food, hopefully, that's supposed to last them through the weekend. Well, that's not always necessarily applicable, because if you're dealing with a household of multiple families, then it's not enough food. And Monday cannot come soon enough. But it's better than nothing, because if you don't have a job, you're trying to hold on to your house, you're trying to keep a roof over your family's head. So with that being said, we have many concerns, and I plan to listen to the people, because there are many concerns that we have here in the community. And sometimes you have to walk and chew gum at the same time. You cannot just look at one situation and say, okay, I will tackle this, and when we tackle this, we will do this. You've got to tackle many situations at the same time simultaneously, and you've got to make it work for the people. So when you put yourself above the people, you get nothing done. So economic equity is another concern of mine. I think that when jobs come into San Pablo, or when contracts go out to various contractors in San Pablo. I think they need to be equitable across the board. I'm not sure that they are presently. That is something that we need to address. There is a population predominantly in San Pablo that is Latino, but we do have Asians, we do have African Americans, we do have women that are out of work, we do have whites that are out of work. So we cannot just say that contracts go to one segment of people. It has to be evenly distributed across the board so we are serving the entire community and not just one segment of the community. We are all in this together. And how we get ourselves out of this, we have all got to work together and make it happen for the people. We have to be for the people.
Thank you, Ms. Harlan. Arturo Cruz, if you could tell us how you would use your work experience and your background and apply that to your job as a council member.
Thank you, Alan. With my 12 years experience as a community leader, I always believe that there's room for improvement to continue learning and growing. And with the Black Lives Matters movement right now, we need to embrace the diversity of our city. We currently adopted a diversity policy, and I'd like to share that with you right now. The City of San Pablo diversity policy statement works to assure that all residents of our community enjoy a harmonious, healthy environment and that they feel welcome and comfortable in their neighborhood and in their city and at community activities and events. The City of San Pablo promotes respect, understanding, and appreciation of the various diverse groups that make up the San Pablo community at all city-sponsored activities, events, meetings, and programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. And Patricia Ponce, if you could explain how you would apply your work background, your experience, and your own personal background to your job as a council member if elected.
Sure. I am very fortunate to have been elected in 2018 as a city clerk here in the city of San Pablo, and I am proud to be the keeper of city records. Currently, I am a council appointed member to the Prevention of Childhood Obesity Advisory Committee. The work that this committee does is vital for our youth, and I am very happy to be part of that group. I am also appointed to serve as a board member of the San Pablo Economic Development Corporation. I see how hard they work to support our small businesses and our workforce. I am proud to be part of that team as well. As a parent, I continue to be involved in my neighborhood school. This is where my community advocating started. And it started at Lake School, and this school is near and dear to my heart. In this school, I sit in the oversight committee board, reviewing budgets for the school. My children are now high school graduates and are attending our community college. I continue to serve our community school, again, because this is my neighborhood school and is really important to me. I am running for city council because I want to represent and serve the entire community. As a council member, I pledge to listen to our constituents and make our process an inclusive process. My skill set includes inclusivity and determination to facilitate needed city services. I was born in Richmond and moved to San Pablo when I was in the 5th grade. I attended schools in San Pablo. I am a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 1. I am very involved in the community. I plan to live here for a long time, and I want the opportunity to serve everyone in San Pablo, not just a specific group. In the private sector, I have been employed at my current employment for 19 years. I started answering the phones, and now I hold a management position. All of these experiences have taught me that the importance of teamwork is vital. Not one individual can make a change alone. It takes team, it takes everyone on board. And as a city council, that's exactly what I hope to do, engage everyone, um, because that is really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ponce, and thank you all for answering those very important questions. And now we're going to give you a chance to make your closing statements. You'll have 2 minutes to do that. And as I mentioned before, we'll start with a candidate who answered the questions last, and they'll start first. That means that's you, Patricia Ponce. Go ahead and let the folks know your closing statement.
Yes, hi. Again, thank you for having me here. My name is Patricia Ponce, and I am proud to be a resident of the city of San Pablo. If elected, it will be an honor to represent our residents. Um, I want to make sure that I, as a representative, uh, listen to every single individual in our city, whether it's our children, our youth, senior citizens, anyone and everyone. Um, our city is a beautiful city, and as an elected official, my priority will be public safety, youth services, continue to represent or support our small businesses, seniors, and the programs that we now have in place that we have to protect for our seniors. We're working with nonprofits, and our workforce also is important. So, as an elected official, I will fight to keep our vital services in place. This is a city of new direction, and to enrich the quality of life of every single individual is important to me. I hope that I have your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ponce. Arturo Cruz, your closing statement.
Yes, thank you, Alan. Hello, my name is Arturo Cruz, and I'm the current mayor of San Pablo and ask for your vote. I was raised here in San Pablo and have lived here for over 40 years. I am raising my family here and have 12 years experience on the San Pablo City Council, and my platform issues that I'm supporting are public safety, economic development, youth services, and senior services. I ask for your vote to continue moving San Pablo forward because I'm driven by a vision of determination, responsibility, loyalty, believing in equality, diversity, progress, and community. And I always support policies and programs that are in the best interests to our environment, residents, and businesses, as well as promoting healthy eating and active living lifestyles. If reelected, I will continue to do my best to work professionally and efficiently. I was the mayor during the pandemic and always responded to the concerns of my constituents. I have an open door policy and always welcome your concerns and issues that are important to you. I will work for you and will continue working for you by leading change now. And if you would like to volunteer for my re-election campaign, you can contact me at amcduce@gmail.com or follow me at Facebook and help us get re-elected on November 3rd, 2020. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alan, the League of Women Voters. Good night, everyone, and God bless. So, thank you.
Thank you. That's Arturo Cruz. Charlene Harlan, your closing statements.
Yes. Of course, my name is Dr. Charlene Harlan. I'm, of course, running for the office of San Pablo City Council. I've lived in San Pablo for the past 17 years as a homeowner, and I've been in West Contra, Costa County for 31 years. Giving you a little of my background, I'm a mother of 2 adult children, and I'm a grandmother of 1. My educational background is 4 degrees in various subjects and 5 credentials to teach any subject from pre-K to higher education anywhere in the world. I'm retired from San Francisco Unified School District as a principal for 22 and a half years and 20 years also as a college professor. I have traveled halfway around the world studying different cultures and how to engage in education to strengthen my leadership and skills, which has given me additional success on how I do my continuous work. Presently, I am on the San Pablo Planning Commission. I am a library commissioner. I have been on the San Pablo Community Foundation Board for the past 12 years. I have been on the zoning committee. I have been on the West County School Bonds Committee. I have been on the County Transportation Committee. I've served as an educator for the Richmond NAACP. I was the educational chair. I've also been the second vice president for Richmond Girls Inc. These are just a few of the hats that I have worn to be engaged in leadership. I humbly ask for your endorsement and my support for candidacy for San Pablo City Council. I thank you for your time, and I am humbly requesting your support. Thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you, Charlene Harlan. Rich Kinney, your closing statements.
Thank you, Alan. And I want to say thanks also to the League of Women Voters for hosting this, and also the Contra Costa County Association. This whole studio experience was wonderful. I just want to say to all the voters that it's been a pleasure for the last in my last two terms, 8 years now working with you, and I think we've accomplished a lot. We've seen a lot happen, and there's so much more to do to continue to protect and improve what we have for not only ourselves, but for our children. I want to tell you, voters, it's time for us to get our community gym. I've been talking about it since 2011 when I first ran the first time. It is on our work plan in our city. It is scheduled to happen someday, but there's so many other things that wound up getting ahead of it that came later. And so we're going to work on that. I want to see a community gym that all of our residents can enjoy. I want to make sure that we have access to the track and field at our community center. It's always locked, and there's no reason for that. Our taxes paid for the school district to build that for the residents, and we need to get to work on making sure those gates are open to all of our people. I also want to make sure that you know that I'm committed to protecting our low-income seniors, their housing. Whenever you're faced with a new landlord, they suddenly begin to want to raise the rent and increase your rent unfairly. And so we're going to work on that. And we're going to continue to work on community policing, community schools, first 5 children, youth, young adults, heads of household, and seniors. Let's do this. We can win this championship, make our city great together again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich Kinney. And Abel Pineda, your closing statements, please.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Abel Pineda, and I'm a candidate for San Pablo City Council. As someone who was born and raised in this community, I'm proud to serve as the youngest council member in our city's history. When I was 15 years old, I lost my best friend to gang violence, but I was fortunate enough to have people that mentored and empowered me to use my lived experiences to shape and inform public policy. I have served this community and the public for over a decade, and I'm honored to have both created and supported spaces for the people to have a voice in the decisions that impact them and their families. Now approaching the end of my 2-year appointment to the City Council, I've successfully authored and supported initiatives that attempt to meet the needs of our most vulnerable residents. That includes efforts to keep our residents healthy, safe, housed, working, and thriving. These are challenging times, and I want to help our community overcome this crisis. Some of my recent efforts include creating a $500,000 COVID-19 housing grant assistance program to help pay the rent, mortgage, and utilities, authoring the City of San Pablo's eviction and rent increase moratorium, leading the effort for the adoption of the City of San Pablo diversity policy and membership in Government Alliance on Race and Equity cohort, and supporting initiatives that bring in revenue and opportunities important to our residents. My goal is to do everything in my power to lift up our community through progressive policies and actions. I draw on my experiences previously working for the California State Legislature and my current role working for the State Department of Education. I hope to continue to bring a fresh perspective on the issues that affect our residents. I'd be honored to earn your support and to be able to serve our community for an additional 4 years. I humbly ask you to join others in supporting my campaign, such as the State Democratic Party, State Superintendent Tony Thurman, Senator Nancy Skinner, Assembly Member Rob Bonta, the Contra Costa Democratic Party, Central Labor Council, Building and Construction Trades Council, and more. For more information about my campaign, feel free to visit abelpineda.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And one more last look at your 5 candidates: Abel Pineda, Rich Kinney, Charlene Harlan, Arturo Cruz, and Patricia Ponce. These are your 5 candidates running for 3 at-large seats on the San Pablo City Council. For more information on the candidates, you can visit votersedge.org. The Elections Division has set up multiple drop-off boxes for your ballots around the county. And for one nearest you, please visit www.cocovote.us, or you can call the office at 925-335-7800. The deadline to register for this election is October 19th, and please don't forget to vote by November 3rd. My name is Alan Wong. I want to thank you for watching this candidate forum. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.